Yeah.
What's the stupidest question you've ever received?
Oh, it's a long list. It's okay, but yeah. Oh man,
Yeah, I'm Palestinian Lebanese. Palestinian Lebanese really love Italians.
good. Well, Italians love Palestinians too. I mean, yeah, I mean, Lebanon. Look, people in the region are really great, and I have such a huge admiration, and also mirrored now by the sorrow. I really, I don't know what to say. I'm so ashamed that we cannot stop it, and but we
Yeah,
need
but
to.
specifically,
We need to do that.
during the Civil War, U.S., UK, France, and Italy sent peacekeepers, and the Italians were the only ones that weren't attacked. And they weren't attacked because they were the only ones who were really doing their job. And even in one instance, there's Robert Fisk's book "Pity the
Uh-huh.
Nation." He says that
Yeah.
there was exchange of fire between Italians and Israelis because the Italians were protecting the Palestinians. And he says that when the Italians left, the Palestinians were crying because they were the only ones who were protecting them.
You know that I didn't know, and I read many years ago "Pity the Nation," and I can't remember that, but good to know. At least we have done something good.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Pity the Nation, there's an index in the end, so you can find the pages if you just go to Italy and you can find it and read it again. But do you think that you being Italian has got anything to do with your advocacy for Palestine? Has it influenced you in any way?
Look, I need to make clear that I don't think I advocate for Palestine. Comes across like that because the Palestinians are the oppressed one and the oppressed ones. The Palestinians are the ones without the right of self-determination. The Palestinians have been robbed, dispossessed, disenfranchised, forcibly displaced for as long as one can remember, 100 years of violation. So this might make me sound very close to the Palestinian cause. But no, I mean, frankly, it's about justice. It's about application of international law. And I'm very, very strong and passionate about that.
That's a very nice answer.
But if the question were, does the fact that you are Italian makes a difference in the way you discharge your mandate? Oh, yes. Southern Italianism at its best.
Okay. Who's the most influential personality in your life, in history or dead or alive, that you think influenced a lot how you think and how you
Oh,
operate and how you approach this?
many. But not even in order because it's a coalition.
Yes.
But Antonio Gramsci, Enrico Berlinguer, Primo Levi, Mahmoud Darwish, Edward Said, and then among the living one, Susanna Bulhawa, Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta,
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Dr. Salman Abu Sitta, and all the Khalidi, Walid Rashid, but also Amos Goldberg, and my late friend, Professor Alon Confino. There are many. Diana Butto, Diana, Daniel Levy. There are a lot of people who are now inspiring me. Fadi Quran. So many people. Young people as well. So much. Greta Thunberg.
And are you aware that you are also inspiring a lot of people? I think
Yeah.
I think you're on the path of being a pop culture icon in Palestine. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw murals of your face in walls sometimes in some places.
Look, let's say, what can I say? That I look forward to the day I will be able to visit those.
Yeah.
I want to see those murales. So, guys, no, but you know that what I found shocking, that there were people starting to call their kids Francesca. I mean, newborn. Also, oh, that's huge.
Yeah, Palestinians are always like this. I think one of the nicest one is Rachel, because Rachel is a Jewish name after Rachel
Of
Corey,
course,
and
of
in Gaza
course.
they were calling their kids Rachel.
Okay, you know what I think with some, and I know that many people say, "Oh, what is she saying?" I know exactly what I'm saying. in many ways, and it will take a bit to absorb this and to see it. But because I live in an Arab country right now, I've been living in an Arab country for 3 years, and I've been working in Arab countries for over a decade, in fact, more than that, I think about 15 years all in all. And I think that Jewishness is returning to the Arab world with the resistance that many Jewish people are posing, the defiance of apartheid, of the Zionist ideology, the fact that they really reclaim Judaism free, an ideology-free Judaism. I do see the curiosity, the surprise among many young Arab people, and I say, don't lose it, because we need to rebuild the bridges that, again, the post-World War II ideologies have erected among us human beings. Do you see what I mean? And
Yes. I wanted to tell you, I had an interview with an Algerian Jewish professor. Her name is Ariella Azulay. I don't know
oh
if you
yeah, of
if you heard
course,
of her.
yeah.
I had an interview with her on Friday, and she identifies as a Muslim Jew. She uses that term, and she explains how Judaism has moved from a Jewish Muslim alliance to a Christian Jewish alliance, and how that effectively harmed the Jews in terms of anti-Semitism. It's a very interesting episode. I'll send it to you. It's going to be released
Please.
end of December.
Yeah. No, you know what I find really confusing, and again, I'm a very spiritual person, but there is something of each religion that say, I'm a very fertile ground to, I
Yes.
think, inspiring people and inspiring thoughts. I read a lot and I listen to talks a lot. So I become quite syncretic in my way of being. I'm very confused by the fact that people now, like in the Middle Age, can use religion to justify crimes. How unreligious, how unpious can it be? Unpious can it be?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And also, what is the reason? What is the rationality, human rationality? This should be the legacy, the eternal legacy of Illuminism, of the Enlightenment. Hey, we can't even make sense of how wrong is that someone can be kicked out of their land and in the name of religion in 2024, all the more at the end of a self-proclaimed liberal democracy. Makes no sense.
By the way, where do you live? You said you live in an Arab country. I'll remove this, of course. It's
No,
for.
you can. It's well known. It's a well-known fact, and people there love me because I bring some hope to their country. It's Tunisia. It's such a marvelous place. But also, if I can say something to acknowledge the Tunisian people, I've been living or working in a number of Arab countries, and never I've seen the popular, absolute, unconditional, unhypocritical support, authentic support for the Palestinians that I've seen among the Tunisians, because it's no compromise. It's not about politics. It's really humanity. And I remember during the first months of the genocide, it was such a consolation for me to be in Tunisia, because I was, like many, completely devastated by the death toll, 250 Palestinians per day being killed. These images, it doesn't matter if they were, I felt horror when I saw the delineated bodies of the Israelis on October 7. And this is also, I come from the West, I'm a European, even if I'm very open and I've lived outside, mostly in the global South, and still I carry biases. So when I saw the bodies of the Israelis who look so much like me, torn into pieces, I said, there is something extremely disturbing. And I said, how am I going to deal with it anymore? It lasted a few hours. It didn't take long, but because we have so much metabolized, the making into smithereens of brown bodies, of Palestinian bodies, that there is something that we do not connect between us and them. And if someone like me can have that that even that moment, imagine others who are naturally racist. But in Tunisia, there was that thing that during the first months of the genocide, you couldn't listen to music. You would step into public places and there was silence and people were completely in shock, moving in shock. And there was this sense of, okay, we share a space of grief that made the social encounters even acceptable, because then people like me couldn't engage in social activities. It was so painful, the death of children after children after children. So yeah, Tunisia is great. Politics.
Yeah, how's your Arabic?
Politics suck everywhere. Tunisia is no exception, but the people are lovely. No, don't ask me about my Arabic. It's pretty bad. I'm generally good with languages, but Arabic didn't stick with me. I get it because I studied when I was in Palestine and I could speak. I could get away with it. But then since I moved to the US, I've not had the chance to study it anymore, so it sucks.
Very good. Nice. Okay, let's jump. I like this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about the ICC issued arrest warrants for. By the way, I heard your interview yesterday with Piers Morgan. I hate Piers, and every time I listen to him, I'm reminded why I don't listen to him. I just tune in for the guests, but you are a queen and you slayed. I loved it. The part where he told you there is this person who said you are anti-Semitic, and he told him who, and I laughed out loud. I cracked up.
I could look. There is something about this guy that doesn't. I know who he is. Of course, I know who he is. It is that I don't know why. I just I've labeled him the barking dog one day because he stirred so much noise against me on the eve of the presentation of my first report at the General Assembly. And there was an Israeli friend with me, an Israeli lawyer, who said, Franci, don't worry, he does that with every special rapporteur. Don't listen. This is just dogs barking at an airplane. There was that hey moment. Since then, it's just the dogs barking at an airplane. I don't care.
There's an Arabic saying, dogs bark and caravans move.
Yeah, I think you stole it from us Italian because we have the same.
Okay. But
no,
also,
because we had Arab domination.
We can keep going back, but also Islamic. No, okay. By the way, were you ever given a chance when you were assigned a special rapporteur? Let's see what Francesca will do, or the minute you were assigned, the attacks started coming in.
No, it was before. Look,
Even before you were assigned.
Look, when the names of those who were being considered by the Human Rights Council became public, immediately there started to be this digging into the files, digging into the archives, going to the daycares to see what would these people have drawn. How anti-Semitic are they? And the horrible thing of it is that they're so selective, because had they really done their job, they would have known that during university, one of the reasons, I was in the student movement, and one of the reasons that almost led me to be suspended is that I opposed vehemently the affixing of a commemorative plaque to Giovanni Gentile, who was the Minister of Education during the fascist era, and he signed the racial laws, which forced thousands of Jewish Italians out of their professions, abandoning their talents to be like second-class citizens just because they were Jewish. So does this really match the allegations against me, while my human rights commitment precedes even my starting the legal professions? And I've been raised knowing what anti-Semitism has done to the Jewish people, and I will never be part of history that allows that ugly, revolting past to repropose itself against anyone, regardless of the religion, nationality, race. So we can do better.
Okay. Let's talk about your tweet then. No, I'm joking.
Which one? Which one? I've tweeted like
The Jewish
2003.
lobby one. The Jewish lobby. 10 years ago, you
Yeah,
tweeted. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
yeah. Yes.
I wanted to talk about the ICC arrest warrants on Netanyahu and Gallant for war crimes against humanity in Gaza.
Yes.
Do you believe that these warrants have a real impact on Israeli leadership and policies, or are they more symbolic given Israel's continuing defiance to the court?
Look, would there be this brouhaha in national level if these arrests didn't risk to have an impact? Of course they have an impact. They bind 124 member states. First of all, my point is that even if Israel is not party to the Rome Statute, it's a moral obligation for Israeli authorities, if they don't want to be seen as complicit, to hand over Benjamin Netanyahu and Gallant to the ICC. This is first and foremost what I think. I still give I want to give a chance to Israelis to do the right thing. Second of all, member states are obliged, as parties to the Rome Statute, are obliged to arrest Netanyahu and Gallant. So whenever these three men set foot outside Israel-Palestine, they should be arrested and brought before the ICC. And if it doesn't happen, it will be yet another sign of hypocrisy and the unsustainability of the international system.
Do you think Dave's arrest warrant was just to show impartiality, that we have an arrest warrant on an Israeli and this is an arrest warrant on somebody from Hamas? Because as far as I know, Dave never left Gaza, and the proceedings on Netanyahu started in 2021, but the proceedings on Dave started in October, and it was much faster to get Dave's arrest out. They don't want to issue an arrest warrant for Israel without mentioning Hamas in one way or another, so they put the arrest warrant out on Dave. Because Netanyahu's arrest warrant was the proceedings started in 2021. Dave was only considered after October 7, and it was very fast to get it out now, whereas Netanyahu took 3 years.
No, look, there is another reason, in my view, and which doesn't make the court exempt from criticism, and I've used this criticism many, many times. The Palestinians sought the jurisdiction of the court triggered the jurisdiction of the court in 2014. And between 2014 and 2021, March 2021, when the investigation was officially open, of the gymnastics that the ICC has engaged with in order to see whether it was possible or not to exercise jurisdiction over Palestine have been they're hard to remember because it's been incredible. However, there is then the ICC prosecutor decided to look at what had happened since October 7, which I find unfair. And why so limited? Because the colonies, the building of the colonies, the forced displacement of the Palestinians, the construction of settlements, the expansion of the control over natural resources, the destruction of the environment, the multiple wars that had occurred in Gaza since 2014. Why nothing of this triggered the jurisdiction of the court? I mean, not the jurisdiction of the court, but the interest of the ICC prosecutor. So, but having said that, war crimes have been committed by Palestinian armed groups on October 7. And so I think it makes sense to have them face justice and also give them an opportunity to defend themselves. I think there is nothing to lose about that, because we need to also establish that there is no equivalence between a colonizer and a colonized. Yes, the colonized, the occupied can commit crimes. Resistance or any liberation movement needs to act in line with international law. But we cannot equate the responsibilities of the occupier with the occupied, with those who have military weaponry that should be able to avoid the targeting of civilians, while the occupied and those who are trying to resist, to defend whatever land they have left with an unsophisticated means that cannot ensure precisions, there is no equivalence between them. So, yeah, they should have been given the opportunity to defend themselves as well.
Do you think the US will apply the Hague Invasion Act if Netanyahu was ever arrested?
I mean, it sounds so surreal that they even have something like the Hague Invasion Act. I mean, where are we? It's seriously the lack of self-restraint, the lack of composure, the arrogance of a system who really behaves and believes to be above the law that applies to all the others in the international community, is mesmerizing.
Does it surprise you that many countries are willing to break international law to protect Israel?
Yes and no. Yes, because today is as serious as ever. Israel has killed 45,000 people with its weapons, Western manufactured weapons, and there are various pronouncements of the international justice system, the International Court of Justice, which should have been complied with and should have stopped this. So yes, I'm surprised, because the length these member states are going to defend Israel can be measured in terms of how much they are breaking the international law-based order. They are risking to destroy the system that has been also painfully developed over 75 years of post-World War II order and commitment. So it seems it's unbelievable. And at the same time, no, because we should make sense of the fact that all what we call liberal democracies from Europe, Australia, partially New Zealand, Canada, the United States, these are all countries birthed either from or who have benefit from genocides. Europe has had 500 years of colonial history that are still unaccounted for. We have dominated the rest of the world, from Africa, Asia Pacific, and the Americas. We have committed countless genocides of millions of native, indigenous people and nations. So this is who we are. We should come to terms about that. And as a European, I cannot be proud of my heritage without taking into account the harm we have done to others and the enduring legacy of it. But also, unlike Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States have invisibilized and completely obscured and muted, despite their rhetoric, the indigenous nations who still live in their countries. And not only some of them, like Canada and Australia, perform acts of reconciliation with the past, even recognition of genocides, which is total performance, because then look at the way their indigenous people live, still denied of the right of self-determination, if it's not in line with Western and settler colonial interpretation of what self-determination and rules of citizenship mean. But also, they are best friends. They still claim friendship and allegiance above all with a state which is committing a settler colonial genocide in 2024. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me after all. It's still the same colonizers.
And
Sorry.
Israel also uses that rhetoric to justify what they're doing. I made the mistake yesterday of listening to Dertrude speak after you on Piers, and he kept returning that UK and the Allies and World War II and the number of people killed here and the number of people killed there, we're doing a better job than them as a percentage. We're killing less people. Like, their justification for that is the European cultural heritage of
this genocide has transformed the defender of criminals and the apologist and the defendant in pectore of an apartheid state into the accountant
Yeah.
of a genocide state. What the trajectory for Mr. Dershowitz?
In Canada, we have the immigration minister here, Mark Miller. He did a speech in Parliament with the indigenous language, and nobody asked you that. If you ask the indigenous, they don't want that. They want other things.
They want rights. They want
It's,
recognition.
Yes, they want rights. Yeah, like you
It's
said, it's performative.
I mean, and the thing, and mark my words, because I keep on saying that if we don't stop Israel in a few decades, we will have a Jared Kushner University in historical Palestine, Israel, like Greater Israel, where the Palestinians are acknowledged in a land acknowledgement as the original custodians of the land. When there won't be any Palestinians left other than traumatized minorities, but this will not happen. This will not happen, and we will not make it
And then
happen.
we'll have movies made about us, and then they'll get a white person to be the hero of the movie to explain how the Palestinians have suffered.
Yes.
The whole thing. Let's talk about Canada. It's the first time, I think, in your career that you've been snubbed by a foreign minister.
I never used that word. And this is not the first time. By the way, sorry. I should let you ask the question and then.
Yeah, it was from what I heard, because I heard the Thinking Muslim podcast, and they mentioned it was the first time that the word they used was snubbed. And I think you said that, or he said that it was the first time it ever happened.
No, what happened is that this was the first time that an invitation was withdrawn.
Okay.
So because whenever I go to a country, I communicate to the government, to the authorities that I will be there and I would be happy to meet with them. I mean it. And there was a response, not from the minister herself, from the Human Rights in the MENA section division, which is not really in line with the protocol because a special rapporteur meets the minister. So I could have, I would have said no, thank you. But I did. I did say, okay, even if it's not the right rank receiving me, why not? And then they withdraw the invite. It's so rude. Excuse me. Also because they withdrew the invitation after the pro-Israel lobby had started ranting against me. So it also shows. And again, they can say, no, but we didn't do that for that. Well, you should have used a better reason or made more effort to maintain the appointment. Also, because again, it was not even the minister, you cannot, there is a protocol at the institutional level that is bound to be respected. But again, I know there have been other ministers, including, it's pretty shameful what I'm going to say, but the foreign minister of my own country has been pretty, it does not shine for elegance in the way he refused to meet with me. But again, there has never been a meeting and then a cancellation. No.
And what do you think of the media coverage? I heard your CBC interview. I found that
good.
very interesting.
No, I think it was good. Media journalists are journalists, and it's incredible the selective moral outrage, the bias they carry. But I think the media coverage was good.
What's the stupidest or funniest or most ridiculous question that you've ever been exposed to? And which country has the most hostile reporters? If any come to mind.
Germany and Italy. Because they don't even give me the opportunity. Italy has a ban. Italian TVs have a ban on me. I can't even be in a documentary. This is what's happening. It's that bad. Which is different from, still in the UK or Australia, the US media still interview me. They might not agree, but you see, Piers Morgan, I mean, people are really being mean to Piers Morgan. I didn't find him hostile at all. I found him Piers Morgan. And unlike others, I personally, maybe I'm naive, but I have this thing. I am the impersonification of the vice of hope. And I do see, I think that is misinformed, and this doesn't justify. And he's also I think he's a bit anti-Muslim. There is something
Yes.
that is not right.
He's a racist. Yeah.
He's a bit
He's not a
racist,
bit. It's clear.
but most Western people are. I have to tell you again. No, I shouldn't
Yes.
say most. Many.
No. I've been exposed to them inherently in their. This is how. But it's a lot of them are not conscious. It's
but
what
I think I do see Piers Morgan changing trajectory, and the fact is that because I've listened. The question is what he was asking also to Alan Dershowitz. I mean, it's tragic that he keeps on giving a platform to someone like him, because I have zero. I'm someone who respects everyone, but if there is someone I do not respect, is this man. And because he's very violent, he's a bully, he's so vicious in the way he speaks to the others, and he doesn't respect other people's view. Hey, we don't need to agree, but you cannot cut me and you cannot shout at me. And this is why when Piers asked me, would you like to join the panel? First of all, I had a plane to catch, but I wouldn't have sat with such a disrespectful man on the panel. But I think that Piers, the way he pushed back on him and on the IDF former spokesperson. Look, the Israeli leaders lie, and probably they're even convinced of their lies. They're not unique in that. What is unique is that they're given an unfettered and unchecked access to the media without ever being challenged. And Piers pushed back on him when it comes to journalists. And I think he should continue that. He should try to go to Gaza. The reason why Israel doesn't let people to enter Gaza, doesn't let journalists to enter Gaza, is that they know the mess that they've done and they are trying to go ahead with it. First of all, to finish the job. And second, because they dread the moment they will be confronted with what they've done.
So last week, Canada voted for the first time since 2010 to support a UN resolution condemning Israeli settlements and affirming the ICJ advisory. And also, when asked about the ICC arrest warrant, Trudeau stated that Canada would follow international regulations and rulings. Given the growing public pressure from public society, political dynamics, and Canada's desire to align with international law, do you think this marks a shift in global attitudes towards Israel?
Yes.
Or is it more about addressing internal pressures and balancing diplomatic relations?
No. I think that there is a mounting pressure, and we will advance the application of international law in Palestine. I'm sure that during my lifetime, I will see the end of Israel's apartheid. This doesn't mean the end of Israel. Here's the thing. The headline here should be resolving the question of Palestine, which is a 100-year-old question, whose responsibility lays bare in the hands of the United Nations. But resolving the question of Palestine in line with international law implies 3 steps: a short-term, medium-term, and long-term goal. The short term is end genocide. Today, there is a genocide ongoing. There is increasing consensus among legal experts that is a genocide must be stopped. We don't even need to conclude that there is genocide, okay? There is a plausible risk that there is genocide, so it must stop. A, immediately. B, by September 2025, Israel must unconditionally and totally withdraw the occupation. The troops dismantle the settlements and remove any control they have over the natural resources, meaning that even if the soldiers go and the settlers go, and still there is Mekorot, the water company, the Israeli water company managing the water pipes, or even an Israeli company profiting from, this is not going to solve the illegality of the occupation. Everything must be brought to an end by September 2025. And states like Canada are obliged to make it happen. They need to take action to make it happen. Otherwise, they might be seen complicit if they keep on trading with Israel, right? And the third thing is end apartheid. End apartheid means that Israel must withdraw, repel, rescind all the laws, policies, and practices that are premised upon the superiority of one group of citizens over other citizens or non-citizens under its jurisdiction. This is what solving the question of Palestine in international law means. And member states are obliged to make it happen. So they should review all the relations they have with Israel, diplomatic, economic, political, military, and strategic. Don't buy, don't sell, don't deal with don't invest into the occupation. In Canada, it's very clear. Canada is not just complicit at a rhetorical level because it doesn't comply with the ICJ provisional measures and still has indirect transfer of weapons to Israel. But there is also another level of compliance. There are Canadian citizens selling Palestinian property from the heart of Canada, property that belongs to the Palestinians that has been expropriated or robbed from the Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territory. There are Canadian citizens fighting in the Israeli occupation army. There are Canadian citizens living in the settlements. There are Canadian businesses, Canadian charities investing in the occupation and the apartheid regime. This must end. So this is why I say justice for Palestine starts at home.
Your recent report as Special Rapporteur argues that Israel's genocide in Gaza is a means to an end, and that Israel is using genocide as means to ethnically cleanse the territory and resettle it. Can you tell us more about the report and what the response has been?
Look, the response has been generally positive in the sense there has been media coverage, member states have been engaging, and they've asked me questions, practical questions. What does it mean? How can I act upon it, etc. Things that were in the report and needed to be further unpacked. I think that it takes quite a bit of time and introspection and study and education to understand what colonial erasure means, because colonialism, unfortunately, is not as understood as it should in our world. It's very obvious to people in the global south. But even, I am an example. I hadn't realized what colonialism had been and was and still is until 18 years ago. It's quite recent. And also, it takes also, it is really since I became a special rapporteur that everything started to make sense through the prism and the lens of settler colonialism. So it requires a lot of education. And this is why civil society in particular must, on the one hand, get familiar itself so that settler colonialism is articulated through legal categories and doesn't sound like as an ideological slogan, because then it's self-defeating. But also in Canada, I learned so much from my encounter with indigenous representatives of indigenous nations. I will be forever grateful to them, their patience, their care, and they're very, very special people. And I had a true moment of healing with them. It was magic. And so I think we need to be able to connect. People in Canada need to be able to connect what's happening to Palestine to what has happened to the indigenous nations in Canada, and the fact that their struggle will not end just because Canada recognizes that it has committed a genocide. Canadians need to see how invisibilized the struggle and the trauma of its indigenous people still is, and they need to be given space to articulate their demand, what is self-determination to them. They're still, they continue to be restricted from the possibility of claiming their land. There is very little of the land that still belongs to the indigenous nations, and this is unacceptable.
This last couple of questions that are a bit personal. Many people who work or who spend their time in human rights advocacy and Palestinian rights feel that they're not doing enough. Do you share that sentiment? What do you think we can do
I do.
more?
I do. Persuade people to see what they can't see. They cannot see. They cannot understand what's happening. They do not entirely believe that Palestine, I think of the ordinary people. So we need to become better educators for those who need to be brought into the system. We need also to trigger a reflection on what humanity is. Humanity means being part of the human family organically, and means that if a group of human beings is aggressed, we react as humans and we stop that aggression. This shouldn't take a low degree to be absorbed, right? And also we should what we were discussing before somewhat, we should recognize the harm that has been done to people. Even look, there is I see that now somewhat Jewishness starts to return to the Arab region, because Arab people, I'm in a country like Tunisia where people are really wondering, how shall we engage with Israelis who stand against occupation, against genocide, against apartheid, and want to live in a decolonized land? Shall they still be seen as our enemies because of the past, because of what they've done, what has been done in their name to the Palestinians? Or shall we explore, and there is the possibility, the new horizon? So we need to build new alliances. There should be, like during the anti-apartheid era, South Africa teaches us so much, in the sense popular fronts are not networks, are not marriages. They are alliances that are formed to fight against a common enemy. And here the common enemy is the still enduring imperialism. So the fact that within the West there is a system of domination that could be, in legal terms, could be seen as global apartheid, that there is a system of racial domination of a group over another. And you see, it reflects in the hubris of determining who's worth application of international law or international criminal law and who's not, who can be protected from abuses, who's not, who can be a victim of genocide and who's not. So we need to get together as humanity, and then we need to apply international law at home in our countries before envisaging the system to change, because real changes start inside us, in our households, and in our community, in our cities, in our countries. And you see, it's not the other way around.
A lot of conversations that I've had with Israelis, and the normal talk points that pro-Zionists have. I always tell them, nobody will revolt against a just system. If Israel came and established a just, equal system, Palestinians will not. Nobody will. It's not a racist thing. It's not a race thing. It's ultimately a question of rights.
Look, to what?
Yes.
Can I tell you one more thing? Because I think that I hope it resonates with people. When people say, how will these people be able to live together after all what has happened? And my question is not even post-apartheid South Africa. It's Germany. Germany is a land where Jewish people have returned, where the Israelis still, return to live. So if Germany, after what has been done to the Jewish people, can become a place that the Jewish people who have lost families in the Holocaust can call home in 2024, everything is possible.
What moments give you hope in times like this? Gives you the motivation to push for change?
It's not. It's my children. I don't want them to live in this world, in a world that is so unfair and unbalanced. It's for them. And because I see every children through my children, and in every child, my children, it's the same. It's for all of them. They deserve better. We can do
Thank you
better.
very much, Francesca.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
enjoyed
so
this
much.
conversation very much.
Me too. Me too.